Hi, Evan.
Hey, Corey, what's going on, buddy?
Oh, not much. Here to
I
talk
feel,
about some NASCAR. What a
yeah,
surprise.
I feel weird. I feel like you and Donnie are normally on the top of my screen, and you're not tonight. My
Well,
alignment is off.
Donnie does take a lot more room than I do, so maybe that's why. But
Well, I don't know. On the top, it's me and Marilee, so I feel like I
we're
feel
top
like
heavy in this.
yeah. Be careful you don't get squashed. Oh,
Oh,
how's your week
man.
going?
Oh, not bad, not bad.
Good,
We'll go
good.
with that.
Yeah.
I'll spare our listeners the drama.
Well, good,
If I
good.
start crying halfway through, don't worry about it, everybody. They're happy tears.
Yeah. Actually, we are a man short tonight. For the first time this year, Donnie's missing an episode. So,
Made it,
um,
what, 3? 3,
this is
yeah.
episode 6,
Episode
man.
6? We've done 6 episodes already?
Well, we've done 5.
Oh,
We're doing
man.
6.
Okay.
But hey, 1 out of 6 ain't bad.
No,
That's
pretty good.
that's pretty good, especially
Mhm.
since like he didn't earn points 2 weeks in a row.
Well, he
It
came
could
in
have been
3rd
worse.
this week, so I feel like that's the real reason why he's not here, but
You must be feeling good, getting
no,
to
I'm
pick
not.
second this week.
That was miserable.
Why?
Why? I lost on the last lap, on the
You
last
lost on the
turn.
last turn of the last lap. But to be fair, I sent you messages doing a countdown telling you it was coming.
Perfect end of the perfect week, that's all I can say. But I
Alright, well,
guess it
listen.
but I guess it was a perfect week for Christopher Bell. He won in Phoenix, yay. Toyota finally showed up. You're welcome,
Yep.
Donnie. I got them, working, I
You wouldn't
guess.
mind calling Alex Bomino for me, would you?
Yeah.
It seems like you have this ability to get people turned around. I almost said turned on, but that was gonna be awkward and
Yeah,
weird,
that'd
so
be
I
really
left it.
awkward, but,
Yeah. Thankfully, I repeated it moments after.
So anyways, Christopher Bell got Toyota the first win this season. Toyota led all 14 what? Led all but 14, there we go, that makes more sense, of the 312 laps, with Todd Gilliland leading after staying out on a green flag pit cycle. So what changed? Oh man, I'm struggling already tonight. What changed? I promise everybody I can read. It's just Evan's wording.
Listen, I tell you every week, the outline is up. You can
Yeah,
do the
and every
topics.
week I ignore it until 5 minutes before we start this thing.
Yeah, or longer.
Or longer. So
Alright, well, you
anyways, Toyota was dominant after be and what? I'm just going now. Oh, man.
you do you want me to
No,
read the
keep it
question
rolling,
to
keep it
you?
rolling.
The question is, what changed so that we now see
Yeah.
them being so dominant after being nearly dormant the first 3 of the season?
Well, it's because I call them out as why they're being so dominant now, so whew, that was a
Um,
struggle.
to be fair, I think it's just that we're gonna see them be very well suited to these types of tracks. We've only seen the 1.5 mile, which is still the bread and butter of the sport. We haven't seen road courses, and we've seen 2 speedway type tracks, which are pretty much anyone's game. So, it's, I will say it was good to see them bring some performance to the track, but if the other 2 manufacturers would have showed up, it would have been better, you know?
Mm.
There's no fun in a I shouldn't say there's no fun, but it's a lot more fun to watch multiple guys swap back and forth than watching one guy kinda control the whole race.
Yeah, but it is Phoenix. Was that gonna happen even if they all brought their best? I don't know.
Probably, yeah,
Hmm. Is Phoenix a
yeah.
short track? Like, is it considered a short
It's
track?
a mile, so it's kind of right on the cusp of being more than a short track. Like, I don't know, it's kind of in a weird little spot. It's not really an intermediate, it's not really a short track. It and, I think Loudon is a mile, and Richmond's like 3/4 of a mile. Richmond's still considered a short track. So it's right on the cusp of
Wow, you
it's.
said cusp twice already tonight. That's pretty good.
Eh, you better be
Well,
careful, or I'll cusp
we're
you
the
out.
the word of the night right here.
The word of the night. Hey, at least I can get out dominant and dormant in the same sentence.
Fair enough. We'll try this one. How about that? This one might not go
Sure,
much better.
let's go 2 for 2.
So the drivers expressed complaints early in the weekend that the adjustments NASCAR had made to this package were bad and maybe worse than they had been last season. In a race that featured very few green flag passes for the lead and typically only saw a new leader via pit strategy, what needs to be done to fix the racing at the mile and under tracks? Good job, Corey. That was good.
That was yeah, you
Yeah.
nailed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got all the words in there except for "as," but
Well, that was gonna throw me off, but anyways.
um, it was really good, actually, you nailed it. As for what's gonna
Thanks.
fix the racing, it's really gonna come down to, um it really does have to be where there's more fall off in the cars, and everyone's harping on more horsepower, that's gonna definitely
Denny.
create that fall off, but I think that the bigger, more important issue is we have to make it so there's less tire contact on the pavement, or the asphalt or whatever you wanna
Wouldn't
call it.
that be considered a plane then, if there's no contact?
No, no, I said less contact.
Oh, okay.
Um, so one of 2 ways that you can do that with the tires, and we've harped on this podcast, and everyone else has harped on it on every other podcast and Twitter and everywhere else, so we won't dwell on it, but the thing they have to do is they've either got to make the tire narrower or they've got to make it so that there's more sidewall to the tires. You'd have to go with like a smaller rim or with a bigger tire, one or the other, to give that sidewall more flex. Anything to put a little more drive in the driver's hands is what's really going to be what makes the difference here. And I think tires are probably just as important as horsepower. I think with the horsepower, you can overcome what you've got there with the tire, and kind of solve the issue that way. But I think you could just change the tire for this package and keep the same horsepower and probably be okay. But that's it seems like it's something NASCAR is unwilling to experiment with.
And
Seems
and
they
is
want to be.
that and is that because Goodyear doesn't wanna put out a tire that looks like it's wearing out too fast, and that's just a bad look to their brand, or like, it doesn't
Maybe,
make sense, like
maybe, but if you're gonna invest that much money into a sport, um, you've kind of got to make it so the sport is at least entertaining for people to watch. Otherwise, you get no
exactly.
ROI on your investment, right?
Mhm.
Um, which I realize ROI has investment in it, and I repeated it, but regardless, if you want to see that return on your investment, you have to put a product out that people are watching and are entertained by, right? Like, let's put it this way: Do you think Do you think it would look bad if someone was out there on old tires and all of a sudden someone pits, put new tires on, all of a sudden they're significantly faster? To me, that's like, oh man, look how much good like new
Yeah.
Goodyear tires are, right?
Mhm.
Like you could spin that however you want as that manufacturer, as that supplier, whatever you say. Um, but the reality is if the product on track isn't good, it doesn't matter what you do, you can't spin it in a positive.
Right on. Yeah, I don't get it. And Denny was saying, I just caught a clip, or I guess it was a reel today, talking to Junior about it's basically just a switch that you just put more horsepower in. It's not a switch, but like I guess it's a very easy thing for like these guys to do to just put more horsepower in the car. It's just like,
Yeah, the engines are already built way
yeah, so,
beyond what they need to be. It's all electronics at this point, right? They're limited by
mhm,
how much fuel's going in, how much air is allowed in, and they could literally change the tuning in the engine. And it might be a little more work for one manufacturer than another. That's definitely possible. But again, nobody's involved in this sport to put a bad product out there. So if it's what it takes to fix it, just fix it. Be done with it.
exactly. Yeah.
You know, even if you just tried it at a test and then you could at least say, "Yeah, it was no different," but they won't even do that.
For whatever reason, I don't know.
Stuck in their ways.
Guess we need to be the boss of NASCAR. I
Well,
can I can be the new Jim. Is it Jim France running it
Jim
now?
France, yeah.
Yeah, there's my new job. Yeah, well, we're not going to discuss that. So, anyways, John Hunter Nemechek spins Joey Logano mid race after Logano, poor fella, has had terrible luck so far this season, slows up
It
for the
started with you
corner.
picking them.
That's right. He had one good race, and Nemechek drives through him. After Nemechek said he felt Logano slowed up, Joey responds with this: "He drove straight in the back of me. He's to be man enough to own up to that." Where do you place the blame in this one? And was Joey justified in his comments?
Yeah, I think Joey's actually right here. I
I
I
didn't
do
see
think.
it, so
Oh, okay. Yeah, he came into the corner and just Joey was slowed up for the turn, and I don't know if John Hunter was even gonna make the turn at the rate he was going, or if he was just gonna wash up and take somebody up on the outside, but full on ran into the back of him, dumps him, takes out like 4 or 5 cars. I think he took out, Kraus, Josh Berry, I feel like there was someone else involved there too, and so, yeah, I
LaJoy,
mean,
was LaJoy in that one? Or was that a
LaJoy
different?
was in that
Yeah,
one.
I think
Yeah,
so, yeah.
you're right. That's the other one. Um, and so I think Joey's right that, you do have to man up and take responsibility for that. But at the same point, we've kind of nurtured a culture now, in the sport where you kind of don't. And I'll give you a perfect example of it. Last year at Pocono, Denny and Kyle Larson had that incident. And Denny Hamlin gets out of the car and says, I never touched him. Right? Like,
Mm,
I never touched him. He could have lifted. Well, that's a veteran in the sport, and the veterans in the sport dictate how the young guys, you know, react and treat and whatnot. And so we kind of built a culture with the veterans right now where apparently you don't have to take responsibility. But at this point in the year, Joey Logano's had run-ins with two of the young guns, Ty Gibbs and now John Hunter Nemechek. So it'll be interesting to see going forward how many more times he's going to have incidents like that before he finally says, you know what, enough's enough. I'm going to start racing these guys back the way they want to be raced. And I don't think that's a bad thing for the sport. I've said it probably every episode. Rivalries are good for the sport. We need them in the sport. So
100%.
I think Joey was justified. I'm interested to see how it changes his mindset going forward.
Yeah, you gotta watch over these Toyota hacks, you know? Love you, Donnie.
Miss you, Donnie.
Yeah. So a third stage pit strategy flipped the field and drastically changed the running order for drivers for is that many
Many.
drivers? May drivers. See, this is not all my fault. With Busher, Kozlowski, Chastain, and McDowell all earning top 10 spots after not running in the top 10 much of the day. Looking forward to the championship race in 8 months. Will this be noted by the championship 4 teams in the fall?
Yeah, I think everything that happened yesterday has been noted for the fall. And I think if you don't change the package between now and then, which I doubt they will,
Doubt it.
then I think, what here's a scenario I could see happening, okay? Um, let's say there's, you know, 3 Chevrolets and a Ford, okay? That are in the championship 4. That's a wild scenario. I don't think that's gonna
No
happen,
Toyotas.
but just for example, let's say it's 3 of one manufacturer against one of the other.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if there's a pit stop and you're that one guy, okay, maybe you haven't been running as good as you want to be. Well, hey, why don't I get my manufacturer teammates to all stay up behind me?
Mm,
I all of a sudden inherit the lead. They work against the guys behind me to keep them back there. I mean, we saw yesterday how hard it was to pass. Ryan Blaney had worked his way up to the front of the field earlier in the run, or earlier in the day, I should say. And then, so he obviously had a fast car, but then he was 14 seconds back when they crossed the finish line, even though him and Christopher Bell started in similar positions on that last stage. So I would be interested to see if a scenario like that could play out. Probably not a 3-in-1 manufacturer type situation, but realistically, there could be 3 Joe Gibbs drivers, or there could be 3 Hendrick Motorsports drivers. That's not out of the question, right?
Poor Alex. Left out
No,
again.
I think if there's 3, he'll be in it. Um, but it'll be pointless because Phoenix has never been his strong suit of a track,
Fair enough.
which is too bad. It's his home track. But I think a situation like that is certainly feasible, and certainly something that we would. I will say this: I don't think we would want to see it that way in the fall, but I definitely think it's within the realm of possibility.
So, bonus question. Is there
Sure.
any guy you seen yesterday that is feeling more confidence for the fall now, if they make it to the Final Four?
Ooh, Christopher Bell.
Yeah.
You know,
Um, Denny maybe? Denny was running good for a little while there, but
maybe. Um, I think anyone in a Toyota right now would feel pretty
yeah.
good about heading back to Phoenix. For me, I think Christopher Bell. What sets Christopher Bell apart a little bit, and Denny too. I guess Denny was in a similar situation, but he started way back in the field and got back to the lead um, before the end of the race, like quite quickly. And Denny too. He started a little bit behind Christopher Bell, or he might have been up there too, but um, I think one thing that they can take away from this is they were one of the few cars that were able to pass fairly often.
Yeah, there wasn't many.
No, there really wasn't. It was a hard drive to get through that
Uh,
field yesterday.
but yeah, Blaney, I'd say was the best. Like he was the only guy. I mean, Kyle Larson moved up and down too, but he was
Yeah.
pretty far back. But cool.
Actually, in that second stage, and you're gonna judge me for this, but in that second stage, Bowman went from like 18th up to like ninth or 10th.
Yeah, he was up
Uh,
there for a little bit,
yeah,
and
and
then
then
as soon as Evan mentions it, he falls back down to where he
yep, yep. I have the
You need to keep
opposite.
your
Well, no, I have the same luck as you, I guess.
yeah.
You picked Joey Logano and Austin Dillon to start the year,
No, I
and those
won with Joey. I won with Joey. Remember that was my
yeah,
one
but
point.
ever
Yeah,
since
ever since, it's just been
they've had the
miserable.
worst possible luck. But
Uh,
anyway, listen, what do you say we take this into the yellow flag segment or the caution break,
oh,
whatever I forget what we actually
we're
call it.
changing the names now. Caution break.
Hey, why not? We changed the whole name of the podcast earlier in the year, so. All right, guys. So it's officially time for our very first guest segment of the year. So let's get it rolling. Having a guest on the podcast is always fun, changes the entire dynamic. So we want to start off with a big bang this year. So we reached out to Cole Butcher, and one of the best ever come out of the Maritimes. And so glad to have Cole here. Thanks so much, Cole, for being with us.
Oh, thank you guys for having me.
We were talking there for a couple seconds, and I see we caught you right in the race shop. So that's always a good indicator of where your focus is, at least.
Yeah, for sure. We have a race coming up this weekend, the Easter Bunny 150, and then the St. Patrick's Day 150. One's racing Friday and one's racing Saturday. So I'm going to race Friday night. My brother's going to race Saturday. So, yeah, we're just getting things ready. This car was completely rebuilt after the snowflake last year. So, yeah, we're just hoping for good luck and a couple wins.
Awesome. So what track are those at?
They're at Hickory Motor Speedway in
Okay.
North Carolina. Yeah.
Good. Well, hopefully that works out well for you.
Yeah.
Putting in the
Yeah.
time has never hurt.
No, we've won both of them last year, so we hope for we can just keep it going.
Good. Well, our audience is primarily based here in the Maritimes still, so let's kind of get into the nitty gritty of it, and do that. So let's start with this. Where did racing start for you? Not the first time you necessarily got in a car and all that, but what got you into watching racing, enjoying racing, having any desire to do racing? Where'd that start for you?
So my dad raced up until '96. He raced sportsman, street stock, and mini stocks, I think. And then I was born. He had to, stop racing due to him taking over Atlantic Tow Load, our family company. And then I got introduced to my first motocross bike at the age of 5. I did that for I don't know how many years until I was like 14 or 15 maybe. And then kind of halfway through that, my dad brought one of the first bandos between him, Stephen Henderson, and a couple other gentlemen brought one of the first bandoleros to Nova Scotia. So I was racing motocross on Saturdays and bandoleros on Fridays, and then jumped into legend cars at 15 or 14 or 15. Was pretty successful in that, and then we went to late model racing in 2016. So ever since then, that's what we've been doing.
And with your Bandoleros, Legends, all that, did you stick primarily to Scotia Speed World, or were you kind of racing provincially at that point?
With the legend car, with the bandos, we always raced just at Scotia. We went to Fredericton once. With the Legends car, we did the Friday night series at Scotia. Then we also did the Maritime League of Legends, which goes to a couple tracks in Nova Scotia, 2 tracks in New Brunswick, and then PEI. So we did a little bit of traveling, came to stateside a little bit, did the Winter Nationals a couple years in a row at Orlando, Auburndale, Orlando Speedway, and then we went to Vegas a couple times. So we did a little bit more traveling, and then we moved up to super late model, pro late model racing, and we're racing all over the world, all over North America.
And doing big things from what I've been reading. Been following you a little bit.
Yeah, we've had some luck. Won a couple of races, big races last year. Gave a couple away, and we were always there. Just never sealed the deal on some of them. But we're just looking forward to recap this year.
Yeah, because you raced ASA last year, right? But you're going cars this year. Am I correct on that?
I'm gonna do the full ASA thing again this year. I have a couple Cars Tour races, a couple Pro All Star Series races, and then I'll whenever I can travel back to Canada, I'm gonna do a couple Maritime Pro Star Tour races. So that's the plan. Maybe dabble in some truck stuff eventually, but we're trying to work all that stuff out.
Awesome. So without getting into your personal life or the politics of any of all that, the Maritime Province, which all of us on Before the Green and as well as you, we all kind of call them home. They're the 4 lowest income provinces in Canada. Is this kind of thing apparent when you're trying to take your racing from a regional level, such as, the Pro Stock Tour here in the Maritimes, to a more national and now international level? Does that disparity ever show itself? And if so, what do you do? How do you overcome it, I guess, is...
Definitely, sponsorship's hard at our level of racing. It's honestly hard getting sponsors at any tier of racing these days. I'm very fortunate to have a family with a successful business. That's kind of our backing. We have a couple friends that support us, and we can't do it without them. But honestly, it's all family backing. Like I said, we have Top Construction, who's one of our best friends. Superior Foundations, who's a really good friend of ours. Hanging on Fisheries, who's relatives, and et cetera, et cetera. But the way that the sport goes these days, if you don't have friends with deep pockets, you're really not going to go anywhere. It's just how it goes.
Yeah, we hear that a lot, and it's always kind of cited as an issue as to how some guys with great talent necessarily don't make it to the top level and whatnot. But you seem to be doing well with what you've got. So that's never a bad thing. But for example, this past year, obviously I'm telling you things that you already know, but you won your 2nd consecutive Oxford 250, which is here nearby in Maine. Only 5 drivers before you accomplished that feat, winning back-to-back Oxford 250s in the whole 50 years of the race. The most famous of that, of course, being Jeff Bodine in the early 80s. So with every race comes opportunity to achieve or get closer to checking more of those things off the list. So what do you consider to be the next big achievement for you going forward that you're looking to accomplish in your career?
Well, the Snowball Derby is probably one of the races that I want to win. It's the biggest super late model race of the year. Honestly, you would look at the Oxford 250 as probably the biggest pro late model race of the year because there's not many supers in that field anymore. So we were able to check that one off for the last couple of years, and obviously win the Redbud 400 last year, so that was a pretty big one. But between the Winchester 400, the All American 400, and the Snowball Derby, once you win them, you've done pretty well for yourself. So definitely, we'd like to get those checked off, and yeah.
Yeah, you finished 4th in the Snowball last year, I think, right?
Yeah, I think we finished top 5 the last 4 or 5 years in a row. Honestly, our average has been pretty good there. We just haven't been able to seal the deal.
Keep knocking on that door. It eventually opens, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. So you have raced against some pretty big names in the sport, including some NASCAR stars. Even obviously, this is a NASCAR-based podcast, so that's relevant to our our listeners. Looking only at the one race, for example, the ASA race at North Wilkesboro, you competed against names that our listeners would recognize, like William Byron, Chase Elliott, Daniel Suarez, Ty Majeski, Carson Hocevar, Grant Enfinger, Noah Gregson, Derek Kraus, and you beat most of those guys on a huge stage. Many of these guys that you've competed against in other races as well, such as the Snowball Derby, which is likely the greatest event in short track racing. So, of all the drivers you've raced, regardless of where they were, who would you say was your stiffest competition? And perhaps better yet, do you have any rivalries with any of those guys that you kind of enjoy?
Not really. They're all really good racers. I mean, they're coming into our pond, so we have the upper hand. William Byron, he's a great guy. He's a great competitor, and we were teammates the last couple of years. So having him on our side was a great asset to us, and we took advantage of it all. So I'd say William Byron, probably one of my favorite. I'm a big Kyle Busch fan, so racing up against him was pretty cool. But we're all here, we're all racers, we're all doing the same thing. If I go race Cup, am I going to do as good as them? No. If they race supers, are they going to do as good as us? Maybe. It just depends on how prepared they are. So, we're all doing the same thing. We're all going in circles. It's just a matter of what's under you at the time.
Right. Fair enough. All right. Well, listen, I know you got a lot going on. I'm not going to keep you much longer, but as we wind this down, where can we see you this year, and what's next for Cole Butcher in 2024 and beyond?
We have the Easter Bunny 150s coming up this weekend. You can watch them on Racing America. Then the weekend after that, we're going to be in Pensacola for the I forget what it's called, but there's a 200 lapper on Sunday that's going to be streamed on Tracks TV. So we're going to do the whole ASA tour this year. Like I said, a couple past races here and there, and then hopefully get up home and do some racing and get to see the fans again.
Awesome. Well, listen, Cole, we really appreciate you being on here. It was super fun to chat with you, and good luck in the rest of the year. Hopefully, we'll see you in Victory Lane a few times.
Perfect. No, I appreciate you guys very much, and hopefully we can do this again.
All right, man. I'll text you anytime that I want to.
Perfect.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
By now, you've probably noticed there are a few things different about the podcast this season.
Mara Lee has stepped into the producer role.
Believe it or not, Evan actually told me he's going to try and make decent picks this year.
Okay, both of those are true, yes. However, I'm talking about how we've stepped up our game from a quality perspective. During the off-season, we were able to pick up some new audio equipment from the great people at Vince's Opry Music Store.
These Rode Pod mics are great, and I challenge you to go listen to an episode from last year and hear the difference these microphones are making to our podcast.
And Vince and his staff were so helpful to all of us. I mean, even though we didn't really give them that much time.
It's true. I've been a customer at Vince's Opry Music Store since I was in high school, and they have always treated me like their number one client, even though in the early years, I was usually just there killing time instead of returning to work.
So I guess not everything's changed then for this year.
Listen, we have racing to discuss, but if you are in the market for new recording gear or musical instruments, then please reach out to our friends at the greatest independent music store in Atlantic Canada, Vince's Opry Music Store.
I'm calling them right now.
All right, guys. So let's hit up before the green. This is Donnie's segment, and since he's not with us tonight, and he's fine. To be clear, I know that sounded really sad, but Donnie's fine. He's just not with us. But it was rather short notice, so this is going to be an abbreviated before the green segment. But long story short, we are headed this week to Bristol International Raceway, or Bristol Motor Speedway, I guess it's called now.
Bristol, baby.
And the best news of 2023, or at least some of the best news, is that it's not going to be dirt. We're going back to the concrete. So I'm really looking forward to that. It's going to be a really good race, I think.
Hopefully, we're hoping.
Normally this time we're sitting here listening to Donnie drone on and on about how good he is at picking, which maybe that's why he skipped, because he wasn't good at picking
I
this week.
mean, it makes sense, but
And actually, I will say, I think as a group, we deserve a little bit of kudos, because this is probably the best average finish of 3 drivers that we've ever picked: a 5th, 6th, and a 9th.
yeah. You're just
Not- That's
overjoyed
not,
because you won
oh, yeah,
by a
but
hair.
so I still won, still get my point. So last week, Donnie picked Chase Briscoe, who finished 9th.
He was that
Corey,
high? I didn't know he finished that high. Wow.
yeah. No,
Like,
it
he
was
did pretty good.
actually,
It was a good run.
yeah. Corey finished 6th with Ross Chastain, and I
Howdy
picked
ho.
Ryan Blaney and got 5th for that. So that now puts the standings at 3 for me, 2 for Donnie, and 1 for Corey. But Corey is now going to be picking 2nd, and Donnie has submitted his pick to Marilee, so she will let me know, and I will read that off to you here once we get going. So heading into Bristol,
Dun, 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 dun.
I've been struggling. I wouldn't mind picking Kyle Larson, but
Are you trying to bait me into picking him or what?
I already did that. No. I think for me, I am gonna go with Kyle Busch.
Kyle Busch. Not
I don't think
even
I,
close to where I thought you were heading, but
I don't think I've picked him. Just a sec before you pick. I
no,
want to
you have no.
make sure
I picked him.
you
You
picked
did
him, but I
not.
don't think
Yeah.
I have.
No, but
Okay,
it's too late now. If you did, that's a 4-point penalty.
that's not how the penalties work. It's
So
just you don't pick one for that week.
you'll be -1.
All right, so yeah, I'm gonna take Kyle Busch.
Oh man. This is rough. Like, I want to take Larson, but I'm scared to take Larson. Hmm. I thought you were going somewhere else with that, but
Who do you think I was gonna take?
I thought you were gonna take Chris Buescher, actually.
Oh, thought really hard
So
about
I
it.
think I think that's who I'm gonna take. I'm gonna take Chris Buescher.
Ooh. Okay. All right. Yeah, he's got a good finish here.
Yeah.
All right. Marilee, why don't you go ahead and let me know who Donnie has chosen?
So
Okay,
he's
so
taking
Donnie has
Denny.
chosen
Wow.
Denny Hamlin.
I'm glad I didn't go super big then.
That's actually who I was gonna pick.
I was thinking him too, but
I thought really hard about picking Denny. Um,
yeah. Well,
yeah,
I figured Donnie was gonna try to go big because he's now behind Evan in a point. So
yeah. So Denny Hamlin was his first pick, and it looks like he overlapped on Chris Boucher for second. So, looks like we're all similar vein of things for picks. Hope I didn't waste that Kyle Busch pick. We'll see what happens with that.
yeah,
Um,
it doesn't hurt that much.
I feel like I may be wrong, but I feel like at this point in the year, Kyle Busch is ready for a little bit of good luck. So
Hopefully, because he hasn't had anything but terrible luck so far.
no, he's been struggling.
Oh
So
man, I hope Donnie wastes Denny. Oh, that'd be so awesome. It'll be 2 weeks in a row he's not in the podcast.
all right, well listen, let's it's been actually it hasn't been that long of a night
No, it
as of
has
yet.
not.
But what do you say we peace on out of here? Thank you so much to Cole Butcher for being with us. Oh man, perfect opportunity to have a little Freudian slip and call him Cole Boucher. But Cole Butcher, thanks so much for being with us. Appreciated that interview opportunity. Really hope that you guys enjoyed that. Thank you for sharing all of our social posts and interacting with us. And we'll see you next week.
I mean, it said Corey to do outro, but I guess we just skipped over that altogether.
Oh, it
So
did. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
see you later, everybody. Evan's gonna have the spotlight again.